There's a protest brewing in Masset on Haida Gwaii over a plan to store 2 million litres of oil on the waterfront. In the centre of town, at the foot of Main Street, surrounded by stores and homes and schools and restaurants and hotels.
North Arm Transportation intends to build a land-based fuel storage facility on the piece of land that you see behind me here, extending down the inlet, Masset Inlet. The first phase of the project, they're planning 10 80,000 litre tanks for diesel storage. And after the last phase of the project, their expectation is to have 26 80,000 litre tanks. So that's 2 million litres of diesel fuel stored here in downtown Masset.
I think that putting fuel tanks in downtown core of Masset is not a good idea.
I think that's absolutely disgusting, destructive, and awful.
Locals formed the Concerned Citizens of Masset committee because they're worried about a potential disaster.
What's bugging me about the tank farm is that it shouldn't be in our downtown area. There's other places for it to be set up that aren't so dangerous to our downtown core, our residents that have houses around that area.
And every fuel truck going to the diesel plant is rolling through town. Right now we're only seeing half of it. There's going to be double that.
I just don't like it in the center of town. It just seems crazy that they want to put a fuel farm in the middle of downtown.
I really think that they could find another area to go, another place that's not the center of our town.
It's going to be off-gassing. There's going to be a whole bunch of trucks there that have to sit there and idle for like 45 minutes before they can refuel. That's how it works, right?
Oh yes, that you have the smell of diesel all over town when the wind blows a certain way. And the folks that work for North Arm, they wear masks when they're refueling their trucks.
It's an awful and horrible idea. It's violent and is not recognizing Haida sovereignty and the heartbeat of this place, which of course is conservation and preservation of all things that matter.
Most towns now in 2023 are beautifying their waterfront, not stupefying it.
Like Dodge and Geeds down Island, formerly Queen Charlotte City, they have this beautiful Spirit Square, and they've taken kind of a rough-looking waterfront and made it very beautiful and enhanced it. Where we're taking a beautiful waterfront and we're going the other direction. We're making it into an industrial zone.
And people come to Haida Gwaii because it's pristine, clean, and just the nature. You can go down to the waterfront there, where the proposed tank farm is, and you see eagles and you see seals, and there's killer whales that come in the inlet, and just beautiful. Lots of different birds migrate through there. It's a pretty special place.
Well, they'll see an ugly tank farm and they'll be appalled and say, how could they allow this to happen here? Like, it's just, they would be astounded that, a village would do that. It's one of the top 10 bucket list destinations in the world. And we'll have an ugly tank farm for them to look at.
Even if one of those tanks leaked, so much of that petroleum would just completely mess up the water and the aquatic life that is in that water, and it could seep into the soil, which would disrupt the groundwater. It's just going to pollute into the air as well, and it's right there, by the water. That's so unsafe and unnecessary to put it right there.
Jody Grange has been raising the alarm for months. The response?
Not great response. Everybody seems to want to pass it along. I've written letters to our MLA, Jennifer Rice, and nothing's happened there. I've written to Fisheries. I've written to the Ministry of Environment. Over the last year and a half, I've probably written 100 letters to anybody I could think of that would care at all about our inlet or the salmon or the wildlife or the endangered otters, or the fact that these tanks could explode and level our downtown like what happened in Quebec. It's quite possible. People need to look at that, and it's residential. It's right downtown. And it's the only waterfront that we have left here in our inlet. And it doesn't make sense to me when there's so many other viable options like the industrial park, Rivtow. It just doesn't make sense that we should all be put in danger, our health, our environment.
We need to eat off our beaches. Clams and cockle, octopus. That's all our livelihood. That's on the beach in front of our place down in the village.
Well, I just feel it's very unfortunate that our community can't utilize that space in a better way. We're on our main street, walking with my kids down to the water and feeling like we've caught herring on that dock. We've spent a lot of nice times on the docks around Masset.
And North Arm did it at the first meeting say that was not their first place of choice. They had ruled it out because they knew it wasn't ideal. And I don't know what's wrong with the site down the road they have at Rivtow. If they did the tanks upright across the road, seems to me an ideal spot, or the industrial site near where the hydro offices are.
It's in a tsunami zone and an erosion zone. If the tanks were damaged and oil leaked into the inlet, environmental catastrophes could result.
The dangers are, for one, it's a tsunami red zone, which means the highest possible alert for tsunami problems, as well as a red alert as an erosion zone.
This is a tsunami zone, so you shouldn't be putting a fuel farm in a tsunami zone.
I think it's not if something happens, it is when something happens.
Won't be good for the fish or anything that lives in the ocean.
And all of our salmon come through the inlet, and all of our orcas and all of the herring that we catch every spring and summer come through right by that dock, and we'll have more and more loaded barrels of old oil.
I don't think so. It will ruin our environment and our land, and because that's where we live, and that's where we get all our harvesting done here. And that's our livelihood. It can't be done here.
Well, it's embarrassing in 2023 when the planet's on fire and flooding and burning that anybody would even consider doing something like this.
I mean, I don't really think it's a great idea. It's like right on the waterfront where a lot of things can go wrong and destroy the habitat of many things and the land that we've lived on for hundreds of thousands of years.
One of the worst things that could go wrong is a tsunami. That's why the village built a 2-story safety tower at the high school, 2 blocks from the waterfront.
The irony in that is that they're 2 blocks away. They've spent $2 or $3 million and had a tsunami platform built outside the high school. And, you know, it doesn't make sense if that's so far away from the water. What does it mean for the tanks?
This is a tsunami zone, an earthquake zone, and it would be disastrous for the fisheries and the whole environment of the inlet. The tide comes in 8 knots every day, back and forth, and it would be next to impossible to clean up. You wouldn't be able to ever clean it up if something happened.
The fast current through there could spread the contamination throughout the shoreline into a wildlife sanctuary and up salmon spawning streams.
It's a salmon run. It goes up where the spot prawns are. It's, like I said, the endangered sea otters. There's so many things that it would affect. And there really are there's nothing put in place right now to control any of that or to stop it were it to happen. That inlet there goes to our nature sanctuary where we have lots of birds and wildlife there.
This is one of the largest sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries in the world. It's of worldwide significance. Hundreds of different types of species of birds and other animals frequent this place year-round. And the consequences of any mistake, or in fact any kind of loss of due diligence on the site, show up here, show up next door, show up down the inlet, show up throughout the community.
But again, I don't like to catastrophize. I mean, one would hope that wouldn't happen, but things do happen, and it's usually human error.
I feel like it's just too close to the ocean, and it'll if there's oil spill, it'll leak into the ocean and go all over the place in the ocean.
If like anything happens there, it will like leak into the ocean or like leak onto the road.
Most people that I've talked to think that this is a ridiculous idea to do this in the center of town for environmental reasons, health and safety reasons, for political reasons, for economic reasons. It's very difficult to actually think of a reason why we should allow this project to move forward, especially when then there are other identified viable options.
Just outside of town, on the highway, there's a piece of property that's owned by North Arm right almost across the street from where their barges come in. And we say that would be a safer place because we won't have 6 fuel trucks running through our downtown. Yes, there are alternative sites. There's the industrial park, which is right across from BC Hydro, where the diesel fuel will be going.
They seem to have ruled those other places out, and this was the place they said that was the only place possible. I suspect it has to do with money. It's cheaper to put it where it is now, or where they have a few tanks now.
And I'd like to say too, North Arm Transportation applied for this contract from BC Hydro to increase their profits and sell more fuel here. Why should we have to suffer for that? Why do we have to give up our waterfront for their profits that might make one job?
If an explosion leveled the downtown, as happened in Quebec, people in nearby Old Masset would be trapped because there's only one road out. Despite the dangers, the village government claims no environmental studies are required.
Well, the local government maintains that it's zoned industrial commercial and that they don't have to really do anything with it as far as have environmental studies or any impact on the environment whatsoever.
And so this land that was deemed as industrial has got, had commercial viability when it was a fish plant. Everybody worked at the fish plant. It's been empty for I don't know how many years now. But to take this down and put a whole bunch of fuel tanks here just doesn't make any sense.
No, it was zoned for a cannery. It wasn't zoned to have fuel tanks, jet fuel and oven fuel and gas and no.
By the time the people heard about it, it was a done deal.
Yes, they had a meeting to talk to the people about their plans here. And yes, the first thing that was mentioned to us when we went into the meeting is, no matter what you guys say or what happens here, we're still going ahead with the tank farm.
The people who live here feel perhaps a little betrayed, that they haven't been consulted, that they weren't part of the planning.
The village of Masset basically has kept us in the dark. And I started writing letters to the village of Masset to every single council member last late spring. They don't have to have any meetings. They don't have to have any votes from the public or referendum or anything. It's just a done deal. It's zoned commercial industrial, and that's what's coming. And the last letter to me was that they had approved everything, and I'm sorry that it wasn't the outcome that you wanted. And that it was in the best interest of the people here. How is a tank farm in the best interest of the people here?
I personally feel like there was a real failure on the part of leadership in Masset to inform the public about what was going to be imminently happening in our town. The first time people received public notice about this fairly extensive fuel storage project on the shores of Masset Inlet in downtown Masset was July 18th of this year, 2023. And the only reason we received information about it is because North Arm Transportation themselves decided to have an information session.
I think just from talking to a few people, most people have a different idea about how the village could develop.
They are planning on starting construction in October. So we really only had a few months' notice about this project. And that in itself has infuriated people. To be honest, it seems like it is the responsibility of the Council of Village of Masset and the mayor, at the very least, to let people know that this is in the works And they claim that they only found out when North Arm decided to come and make this presentation to the public. But that seems really unrealistic to me, that they had no idea about what was coming for this area in Masset.
And I believe their job is to take care of us. We elected them, not pull for a tank farm that the people of this town don't want. The majority don't.
So, yes, I feel like there's been a real lack of transparency, a distinct lack of communication. And since we have been approaching the village of Masset via communications by letter, we attended a council meeting and made some presentations. I also feel like they are not at all receptive to hearing what we as the Concerned Citizens of Masset have to say about the various dangers and issues that we have with developing this project. In their minds, it's a done deal. So when North Arm came up here to do the information meeting, it wasn't a consultation. They were very clear about how this is happening and no one's going to do anything to stop it. And I have been getting the same message from the village of Masset as well. So very disappointing that our elected council didn't have the foresight to believe that people were going to be upset about not hearing about this project before it had the stamp of approval.
Despite the fact that the decision was sprung on the community just this summer, almost half the population has already signed a petition opposed to the tank farm.
I think our focus right now is to ensure that this project doesn't happen in the middle of town. We're having a hard time retaining healthcare workers. We're having a hard time retaining teachers. This town needs some vitalization, and this is not the way forward for that, not from a social point of view, not from a health and environment point of view, and not from an economic point of view. North Arm told us themselves that there was no economic benefit foreseeable for Masset itself, and at best, 2 or 3 more jobs may be created in the long run.
Well, we asked them about that, and they say that possibly 1 job will be created.
I think that just doesn't rest well. This is the last piece of undeveloped waterfront property in Masset, and I think that with a little bit of creativity and vision and motivation and passion, we could actually, as a village, do something incredibly useful with this piece of land that will help to keep Masset vital. Nobody wants to look at a tank farm.
I just feel like we've lost our rec center. We've lost a number of our businesses recently in the community, and we need something that makes us feel proud of ourselves. And I feel like our waterfront is that spot.
The Concerned Citizens are not against North Arm, only the proposed location of its tank farm.
From the very beginning, we've said we don't want this to divide our town. If there wasn't another option, I could understand that, but there is another option, and it's not them and us, because North Arm has been here for a long time, and we don't have a problem with them whatsoever. We just don't want the tank farm downtown. It doesn't do anything to beautify our downtown.
This town needs some economic stimulation, and North Arm themselves have said that no money really is going to be coming to the village of Masset as a result of taking up the last waterfront properties. I just think that without too much effort, we can imagine so many different ways to use this property that could be a cultural site, a commerce site, that could provide places for locals to hang out and eat a nice meal looking at the water, or tourists. Tourists come to this town and there's really nothing to do. You see people just wandering around the streets of Masset, wondering where to even get a meal on a Friday night, sometimes in the middle of summer. So I really think that more creative thought can be put into using this land for fun things, for interesting things, for beautiful things, for important things, not for a 2 million liter fuel storage facility.
I looked it up. There are a lot of places that have tank farms on the waterfront that have dismantled them and taken them away. That seems to be the trend. So we're bucking the trend here. We're bucking the trend as usual in Masset, but not a good trend, I would say.
I would love to see a park there. I'd love to be able to look out at the water and have that be a part of our downtown.
Well, more green space, trees, a park, benches, a cultural center. Some people want an art school. I'm not big on schools for anything, really.
A park for kids to come and play, a place for people to walk. Maybe some public washrooms would be really nice because there's no public washrooms in town.
Our community plan, we did want a park there, and I think something like the Kai Center, a kind of cultural center, although that might be better in Old Macedon Reserve, but something that has to do with Haida Gwaii as opposed to oil tanks, which don't.
There is resources to like transform this project here from a leaching PCB diesel gas wasteland, which is what's really happening. If you look under the soil, leaching into the ocean, we could fix that. It's going to take some effort, but to abandon our downtown core and our future potential, to just like throw another 26 tanks on there with 80,000 liters of fuel in it in a tidal tsunami zone, it's nonsensical.
I believe everybody would support having some green space here for people to be able to enjoy the waterfront. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
This is the heart of the town, and it's the most beautiful location in town, and it would be a prime spot to develop for tourism and for recreation for people of the village, and not perhaps a great spot for many fuel tanks.
The community has identified this specific location as an opportunity to beautify and deindustrialize and clean up.
I'd like to think people are into having a good, sustainable area for people to come and enjoy.
I think that making a green space, a park, even if it takes 25 years to get the soil back to what it should be, things do take time, and that would be something to look forward to and to take part in, and for people have come up with all sorts of ideas, drawings, things that could help beautify it. I mean, there are more flowers, more trees, I don't know, just more sort of public friendly space, but not a tank farm.
But maybe a community garden, because so many people are hungry. Not that many people on our island, but like imagine the opportunity for people to volunteer opportunities for high school students that are trying to get volunteer hours to go into university. That people are able to come together and farm a bunch of food that they can give to people that maybe can't go to the grocery store and buy a zucchini. You could grow a zucchini. There's so many different things and uses that we could use for that plot of land that would actually benefit our community and show as well a positive light on our community.
Because I love Masset. I've been here almost 25 years. I really do. I love this town, and I want it to be better for everybody.
The people that live here, they're very resilient and thoughtful, kind people, and they deserve better than what is being offered to them here.
What we need is something beautiful, not that.
There's a very North American idea that you only do something that's going to benefit you in your life, and there are people who don't understand that you may want to do something for the future, for your kids or your grandkids.
I'd like to see our ocean and our land, not oil.
I would like Haida folks to decide what they would like to see here and support that vision. But anything that is increasing the beauty of the natural landscape rather than risking ruining it.
I would like to see the area cleaned up. And I understand that that's, a prohibitively expensive venture. But I also think that if you're creative and you have energy, you can find money to do things. People put a price tag of about $1 million to buy these lots back from North Arm and to clean up the site. And personally, I don't think it would be that hard to find $1 million just to remediate the site, put it back to a blank slate, and then take the time to put together a plan that's going to benefit the community.
So I don't know what happens here, why people lose sight of that. It's just whatever happens in our own life, what's happening to me right now is all that matters. It's not true at all. And I think it's important that that site, if we have to clean it up for 25 years, that starts now, not in 25 years, but now.